Hi, I'm Matt McLaughlin with BizTech Magazine here at CDW's IT Leadership SummIT. I'm talking to Alyssa Miller of CDW. Alyssa, so for this video we tried to do something a little different, and we tried to get some questions from Twitter to ask one of CDW's leading security experts, yourself. So we thought we'd see what they wanted to know about penetration testing, and here's what we've got. So first question comes from Andrew Stager, and Andrew asks, what's the most common outcome when the team at CDW conducts a penetration testing exercise? Like, do they always get in?
So I'll kind of approach that in a little bit reverse order. Do we always get in? Not always, but based on the numbers we've seen, about 90% of the time, we're seeing the ability to gain privilege escalation. So we're able to get some form of access, usually at an administrator or a root level, to the systems that we are testing. And that's a testament, sure, to the skill of our testers, but also to the level of effort that we put into each and every penetration test that we do. Typical outcomes from that is, obviously, at the end of the day, what we're looking to do is give our customers some form of actionable recommendation for what this all means. Okay, we were able to gain access to this system, here's how we did it. But what does that actually mean for you? And how do you prioritize those remediation efforts to ensure that you're focusing those limited IT security dollars that we're all struggling with today, making sure they're focused in the right areas where we're going to gain the most benefit first?
Our next question comes from Kira Dowd, who asks, what are some of the most common problems that you find during a pen test?
So it's interesting. You would think with all the advanced attacks that we see being published each and every day in the security industry and these gigantic scope of different compromises that we see, that these attacks would be really deep and technical. And the reality is the most common vulnerability category that we find are configuration issues. And when I'm talking about configuration issues, I'm talking about situations where we have the right tools in place, and sometimes there's not even a security solution specifically needed, but just the configuration of an operating system or a security solution or something of that nature leads to that particular vulnerability. Now, what's interesting about this is, as we look at some of the breaches today, they bear this out, even as we start to see so many of these cloud breaches that are occurring. And we can think of names that have been in the news recently, Lion Air or Capital One or even Facebook earlier this year. And we look at each and every one of those situations, and it's coming down to simple configuration issues that were well documented and could have been avoided, but through whatever means in terms of organizations and processes not being followed or whatnot, these vulnerabilities are being introduced in a cloud environment now.
All right, our last question comes from a Twitter user named Hanora Srihari. She asks, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen in your efforts to break into a company's network, and what's the most creative way you've gotten in?
One of the craziest things I ever found in a penetration test was a web server that allowed the users to upload code. So this was an application that was built in ASP.NET, and it actually allowed the users to upload ASP.NET code to the website so that they could build customizations and so forth. So this was probably the first time in my life doing a penetration test against a web application that within the first 3 minutes, through a web application, I had gained administrator access and had complete control of the server with a command prompt. That's a story I love to tell because it's scary, and I don't like to scare people necessarily, but it speaks to a deeper issue, and that is just how do we really think about security as we're building our systems, and how can we do better just having that awareness of simple concepts that maybe are not good practice to put into a production environment.